And you can call him at 877-381-3811.
Well, in the little state of Delaware, there's a dynamo, and her name is Christine O'Donnell, and she surprised everyone but me in the Republican primary. And she's in a toe-to-toe battle with the bearded Marxist, not so much bearded anymore, in the state of Delaware. State of Delaware, which neighbors my old state, where I come from, Pennsylvania. Christine O'Donnell, how are you, my friend?
Wonderful. Great to be back. Thank you so much, Mark. And, just like you said, a lot of people didn't think we could win the primary. They're saying the same thing about the general. But latest poll has us within 6 points. We're trending in the right direction. I am very confident that we're going to have a surprise victory again on November 2nd.
Well, tell everybody in Delaware and in the rest of the country why you should be the senator and not Chris Coons.
Well, as you said, his comments about being a bearded Marxist from when he was in college, recently he explained that that's what made him become a Democrat, studying under a Marxist professor who articulated those principles made him become a Democrat. And when you look at the economic situation that our country now finds itself in, there is something the government can do to either make the economy worse or to improve it. And if you look at what my opponent is proposing, he said in his fundraising letters that he's going to be a rubber stamp for the Obama-Reid agenda. So we know that that's not working. Creating more government agencies, creating more spending programs, thinking you can create jobs that are dependent on tax dollars, as opposed to doing what is tried and true, whether it's under President Kennedy or President Reagan. When the government cuts taxes, cuts spending, the economy booms. They're not partisan principles, they're economic principles that this Congress should be enacting. And the unique thing about this race is that because it's a special election for the seat once held by Joe Biden, the winner is sworn in immediately and will be serving in this lame duck session in this November. And there are things that this Congress can be doing to immediately get our economy back on track and to create jobs. One of those things is the massive tax increase that's coming on January 1st. We're going to be hit with the largest tax increase in U.S. history. And again, history proves that when you lower taxes, coupled with cutting spending, revenue increases. Now, my opponent has had no less than 4 positions on what he's going to do with these tax increases, but the most consistent that you hear coming from Democrats is to increase taxes only on the top 2% of earners. But they fail to recognize that according to the NFIB, small businesses fall in that top 2%. So business owners who employ anyone from 20 to 250 people will be disproportionately hit by these tax increases. Many business owners that I've met here in Delaware have told me that if these tax increases come, that will make them close their doors.
Well, let me ask you this. This guy has actually increased taxes on everybody.
He has. It's funny, in a recent candidate forum, he said, look at what I've done as Newcastle County executive, and that'll be a good predictor as to what I'll do when I go to Washington. I thought, boy, I wish we were recording that, because as Newcastle County executive, on the campaign trail, he promised not to raise our taxes, but he raised them 3 times. He raised them over 54%. Then he said, oh, but they're still low. It's only about $500. And, it doesn't matter, because he raised the taxes on low-income seniors, he raised taxes on low-income disabled, and then wasted our tax dollars by creating a slush fund out of which he spent money on casino night, private golf outings, men's fashion shows, parties for the liberal special interest groups with our tax dollars. And then he says he had to raise taxes.
So his record is raising taxes on everybody. So he can talk about the top 2% all he wants. He raised it on the lowest 2%.
He raised it on the most vulnerable in our society after promising not to. So it almost doesn't matter what he's going to do what he's promising he's going to do now. Look at his record. Look at his fundraising letters that he sends and the promises he makes to the party establishment, to Barack Obama and Harry Reid. He's promising to be a rubber stamp. When it comes to cap and trade, that's another piece of legislation that's coming up this November. Again, right now, what's on all the voters' minds is how we're going to help the economy, how we're going to get jobs back in Delaware, in all over. People want jobs back. If cap and trade is passed, It's projected it's going to cost at least 6,000 jobs here in Delaware. It's going to cause the average family's utility bills to go up $1,200. So we're going to be suffering. But in the meantime, my opponent's family business, W.L. Gore, they stand to make millions of dollars. As a shareholder, he personally stands to make a lot of money because cap and trade will force businesses to have to purchase the green technology that W.L. Gore makes.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't mind people becoming millionaires. He's a millionaire, right? Through marriage,
right,
mostly.
Yep, and neither do I. No.
Okay, so I know, but here's the thing. But he's trashing millionaires. So here's a guy who is a millionaire, trashing millionaires. I think the public is so sick of it. He's a millionaire trashing millionaires who raise taxes on low-income senior citizens. So he's out there running commercials. I'm the guy of the little people. He's your typical left-wing radical kook who is going to contribute to the demise of this society because he's going to do exactly everything Joe Biden tells him to do.
Right. He's a wealthy elitist who's into paying off his cronies with our tax dollars. But, you know, Mark, I, too, have no problem with W.L. Gore creating an innovative technology that can help the environment. And if they put it out there in the open market and allow free enterprise to create an incentive for businesses to go out and buy it, that's one thing. I applaud them. But for the government to mandate that businesses have to buy that technology, and then for a U.S. senator who's going to be voting on that government mandate to actually profit, personal profit.
You are exactly right. This is the difference between crony capitalism and honest-to-goodness capitalism, and we're sick of these crony capitalists. And this is what's interesting. Most of the Wall Street money goes to the left. Most of the big money goes to the left. All the analyses show this. And then they talk about how they're for the little guy. What they're for is crony capitalism and massive big government so they can centralize decision-making and control our lives. And this guy's the perfect puppet of a Biden or an Obama to do exactly what they want him to do.
That's exactly right. Crony capitalism is the perfect way to put it because I asked him at a debate, would you recuse yourself from that vote? He said no. He won't even recuse himself. So, you know, there's a clear conflict of interest here where, you know, going up and down the state, senior citizens are telling me that they're concerned that their utility bill's going up at least $100 a month. $100 just disappearing from your household budget because your utility bill went up $100. Imagine what that's going to do to whether or not they can balance their checkbook. Or, you know, if we have another record cold winter like we had last time, many seniors are going to be afraid to turn up their heat. This is not the kind of fear and uncertainty that we should be putting out there, that we should be expecting from our politicians in these economic times. So, you know, this administration, you've heard President Obama go, oh, I inherited a car in the ditch, and, you know, enough of the excuses. It's not as if the government's actions have nothing to do with whether or not we recover economically or not. President Reagan inherited a mess from the Carter administration, but he cut taxes, he cut spending, and it worked so well.
All right,
the economy recovered so quickly.
I've got 90 seconds. Tell me how your ground game's going there.
Well, like I said, we're within single digits in the points. It's all about turnout. So if your listeners can help, if they can give us a contribution so that we can make sure we have enough materials to pass out on Election Day, but not only that, there's practical things you can do. You can go to Christine2010.com, click on Call for Christine, help us call those undecided voters and convince them to vote O'Donnell for U.S. Senate. But again, it's all about turnout on Election Day. If you can make phone calls for us on Election Day or even come to Delaware. We had a rally recently, and I was so pleasantly surprised and humbled at how many people came from out of state to help us with our lit drops. So you can sign up to be a part of one of these lit drops on the ground here in Delaware, or you can be phone banking from the comfort of your own living room and your own home computer. Go to Christine2010.com. And while you're there, we've launched some webisodes, Christine TV. Click on the television icon so that you can get a look at what's going on behind the scenes here in Delaware. Because, you know, no surprise, the liberal media has not been giving us a fair shot. So we're showing people exactly what goes on the campaign trail and how hard we're working through our webisodes, again, on Christine2010.com.
All right, my friend. Well, we wish you all the best. And after you get through this election, we'll be talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being there from the very beginning.
It's my honor. You take care. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard her. She's very good. Ignore all the pundits. Ignore all the naysayers. We just do the best we can. We fight on. It's Christine2010.com. Christine2010.com. If you have a telephone on Election Day and you're not doing anything, or the day before Election Day, I guess, you can help out no matter where you live. And you can donate as well. That's Christine2010.com. Wouldn't that be an unbelievable event? Wouldn't that? If she got through that election? We win some and we lose some, but we fight for all of them. That's the point. We fight for all of them. And we know this because many of you are members of Americans for Prosperity. And Americans for Prosperity and you and I, well, we don't take no for an answer, do we? There are now 1.6 million of you who've joined hands with Americans for Prosperity and gone to the streets to rally and to protest against Obama's radical agenda, government-run health care, stimulus, so-called, and all the rest. And that number is growing. And you've got Obama's attention. His cronies don't like you. He doesn't like you. But we do, because you're effective. You're effective. That's why he attacks Americans for Prosperity by name. He's trying to bully you. He's trying to silence you. And when bullies push us around, we push back harder. Americans for Prosperity and I have drafted a handbook that you can download for free right now. And if you haven't downloaded this, just go on your computer right now and download it. Take a look at it. I think you'll find it extremely useful, and you can start using it this evening. You can start using it right now so we can make an incredibly huge difference on Election Day. How do you do it? You go to sickofspending.com, sickofspending.com, and you can download it from there. And the handbook shows you how to quickly recruit and mobilize others literally within minutes so we can end this madness. And we've made it very easy for you to be the Paul or Paulette Revere in your community, and that's crucial. So go to sickofspending.com right now, download your free copy of our November is Coming Action Handbook. And we'll also mail you information on how to hold their feet to the fire after the election, which is crucial. So they can spend $80 million, $100 million, $500 million with thug money and liberal money, with illegal aliens knocking on the door. You will have your handbook downloaded right in front of you. You can look at it at home, at your place of business, and you can be extremely effective. The clock is ticking. Tuesday's just a few days away. We need your help right now. We're not going to be silenced. We are energized. So go to sickofspending.com. Download the free November is Coming Action Handbook right now. That's sickofspending.com.
Mark Levin.